Well, one of the things that interests me exceptionally is stress, the subject of stress. And for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons is actually that a lot of the clients I get, they come to me with a burnout, and often things are regarded as being stress related. And not only when it comes to burnout, I actually believe that stress, when one looks at that in a certain way, not only becomes healthy, it also becomes very helpful. So my conviction is we confuse an emotion that we're experiencing with the stress response that our body is giving us. And in that little confusion, that's where the problem comes in. So to give you an example, I'm got a lot of work and I've got a lot of things in my head, I've got a lot of things I'm worrying about, trying to do a lot of things at the same time. It could be that I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or I'm feeling under pressure, or I'm feeling like I'm not going to cope. You can already hear it in my choice of words that what I'm feeling is an emotion. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling I cannot cope. So I'm talking about something in the anxiety range of emotions. What we generally do, however, is when we feel this emotion, our body is going to react. Our body wants us to survive. Our body uh, is sort of saying to us, well, here's an emotion. It shows us something is important in our environment. It shows us we have a challenge to face. Therefore, I'm going to give you some energy in order to face that challenge, in order to do something with it. And this is when our heartbeat starts going a little faster, for example, or our breathing changes. These are all biological changes which our body initiates in order to give us more energy to actually face this challenge. And this energy, this is actually the stress response. Another way of looking at it is maybe a little bit of a funny way of looking at it. I mean, I'm sure you've all had a fright or caught a fright from something, and I'm sure you know what happens then. It's first of all you have the wide face look, and then you feel also your heart might increase its heart rate. Your breathing might be a little bit more up here and things like that. Okay, so this is an example. But I'm sure you can also think of some really pleasant, exciting experiences where exactly the same thing happens. When your body is actually needing that energy in order to do something, whatever the activity is. And this is what I'm trying to say, is actually it's not the stress. It's not the energy that is interesting here. It's the emotion we are experiencing. So the emotion we're experiencing is trying to give us some information. It's trying to give us information as to what in our environment is important, for example. And the intensity of that emotion is trying to tell us how important it is. To give you a simple example, if you stand in the fast lane of a motorway and a car is speeding down towards you, um, something's going to be happening in that emotional sphere. And that's going to be an anxiety, it's going to be an intense one, and it's telling you, get out of the way now. And this is what I mean. It's the emotion is there to tell us, hey, wait a minute, something's important here. The intensity, oh, this is intense. This means I need to get into action quite soon. And the reason is quite simple. If I don't get out of the way of the car, I'm not going to manage this. Okay, so basically, what do we do then? How do we translate this into something we can use in our daily life? And my experience is that people only really start noticing, well, they actually start noticing their bodily response. So they're not really recognizing the emotion they're feeling. They're recognizing, oh, my heart's going faster. Oh, my breath's up here. Oh, I'm shaking a little bit, for example. And then they start saying to each other things like, I'm not coping or I am stressed. Whereas it would be more accurate to say, I am feeling, and then there's some emotion behind there. And the response my body is giving to me is actually for me to face that challenge. So how can we do this? So when we notice the bodily response, instead of going straight into this idea of calling this stressed or calling us whatever it is to stop oneself and to say, I am feeling, and fill in the emotion. And to me, one of the most important words in the English language follows this. That is the word and. And I'm using this very specifically because what I'm saying is this emotion has its own time frame. An emotion, you know this of any emotion you've experienced in your life, it doesn't last forever. It lasts for a specific time span, and then it gradually fades away or it is replaced by something else. Except we've been brought up with the idea that we can actually influence our emotions. I don't believe that's true. I believe the emotion we feel is an automatic response from our body. It's not only automatic response from our body will determine itself when it is time for it to fade away. So, in other words, this idea of I'm experiencing emotion, I'm just going to name that emotion, and then I'm going to use the word and not the word but. But says two options cannot coexist, and says I can remain feeling, for example, overwhelmed, and now I can choose what is the action I want to undertake. And the action I want to undertake is usually something that is going to serve whatever the need is that is being signaled by this emotion. It sounds a little bit tricky. It's a matter of practice. It's a matter of stopping oneself, naming the emotion, using the word and then expressing what you are going to do now.